Next movie in my Steven Spielberg marathon is a childhood favorite of mine that I've seen countless and countless of times, and once again before I reviewed it. It is Hook, starring Robin Williams, Dustin Hoffman, Julia Roberts, Bob Hoskins, Maggie Smith, and a great ensemble cast. I can't remember the rest. I'm bad with names sometimes. It's directed by Steven Spielberg, and it's uh, it's kind of a sequel to the original Peter Pan story. It's like if Peter Pan had ended differently, like with him in the play, it ends with him going back to England years later with Wendy grown up, and he meets Wendy's daughter, and they fly off to Neverland together. And this movie, Wendy is an old lady, and he meets Wendy's granddaughter, and he falls in love with her at first sight, and he decides to stay in England with them to in order to marry her someday when they grow up and have kids of their own because he always wanted to be a father. And it doesn't start off that way. It's shown later in a flashback, but it starts off with Wendy and his wife and son, his wife Maura and the son Jack. They're at this when the daughter Maggie's school play, which she's playing Wendy in a Peter Pan play, and Peter gets a phone call from work and he talks during the play, and they're like, "Hey, Peter, you're missing it because I mean the next day when he's at work, he misses his son's baseball game because he's even though he loves his wife and kids, he thinks work is more important than family. Because this is like a driving theme for most Spielberg movies because when Spielberg was a kid, his dad wasn't always around, and their parents divorced, and he held a grudge against his dad for several years. So I think the movies were his way of like trying to cope with that by having that theme prevalent throughout his movies. And eventually, I think he made up with his father eventually before his father died, which is good. And the the acting in this movie is great. Peter Robin Williams is great as Peter Pan, aka Peter Banning. That's his adopted last name. And the when his kids get kidnapped by Captain Hook, Tinkerbell comes to take him to Neverland, and Peter's forgotten about everything about his childhood before he decided to stay in England with Wendy and Matt Mora. So he has to remember everything in order to be able to think of a happy thought in order to fly and become Peter Pan again and save his kids from the pirates. And his transformation into Peter Pan takes a little while. Yeah, a lot of critics criticize this movie for its like 2.5 hour runtime. It could have been cut short. Yeah, it could have, but and Spielberg originally wanted to make this a musical. It didn't need to be a musical, although he did leave two songs in it that were written for the film. One of them was the scene during the training montage where Peter's trying to get in shape and exercise and get ready for battle with the Lost Boys. They're like, "Move on out! Ain't no time to celebrate! Ain't no time to celebrate! You are rolling away!" It's just such a funny song, and I love the other. I like the other song that the Amber Scott who plays Maggie. She sings it briefly on the pirate ship, and I think he sang it at the Academy Awards the following year because that song was nominated for an Oscar. And the when Peter the with the happy thought that Peter does think of that eventually makes him turn back into Peter Pan and he rediscovers his childhood, inner child. It just so such a wonderful, wholesome thought. I'm not gonna spoil. You gotta wait and see. And I like the character Rufio, who's the head of the Lost Boys since Peter left, and he's at first he sounds like this egotistical, stuck-up bully who's mean to Peter, but he eventually comes to respect him, which I like. And I like Rufio, and I hate that they killed off his character. Spoiler: yeah, Hook killed him in a duel, and then Peter has to fight him after the Lost Boys battle with the pirates. Um, the and yeah, and after they return home when the day is saved. Spoiler, but if Peter's a good guy, of course he's gonna win. And the reunion with the family is just so touching. And Toodles, who's a former lost boy and all grown up, he went to Earth too to live with Peter and Wendy, and he's a old man now, and he's acts like he has dementia throughout the movie, but you've really something happens that make you realize he doesn't. I'm not gonna spoil what that is either. But I love this movie. It's one of my most favorites. I give it 2 thumbs up. And I know Spielberg hates this. Well, he doesn't hate the movie. He just regrets making it the way it turned out to be. But I like the way he made it and turned out. All right, that's it for now. Thank you and God bless. Bye.